Jolt Radio.
Hi, hi. Welcome to Homework Radio. We're here with Richard Vergez, who's having a solo show at our gallery, opening on February 28th. It's inspired by animism, the attributing a living soul to objects, and how the unstable lives of objects once what sorry about the unstable lives of objects once they slip from usefulness, and it's viewed as an open question. So a quote that I thought works very well with this exhibition is that there's a bit of magic in everything, then some loss to even things out. That's a Lou Reed quote. And I want to throw it back to Richard and talk a little bit about how he's moved between visual arts, music, and publishing. And if you could tell us a little bit about your early influences, artists, musicians, and even people in your personal life that have shaped your direction.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Jolt Radio, for having us on and giving us this little window of time from 5 to 6. And thank you guys. I've been hanging out with Myra and Aurelio all day, hanging the show, and it's looking really nice. And I'm stoked to kind of share it with everybody, for everybody to come out to the opening and try to check it out during the month. So kind of going back to a little bit of that quote and a little bit of like animism even too, and it was like kind of a prime example. We got here and I had a CD I wanted to play, and it looks like we couldn't. There was no way to play the CD, so I brought a CD with me, but that has sentimental value, and I feel like objects sometimes, even after they lose their function, still hold that. It's a memento. It's like some kind of souvenir where I'm not going to throw it out because I don't have a CD player anymore. So I feel. Those things kind of stick with me, those kind of sentimental things. So, I guess I'm slightly kind of a hoarder, too, as far as, whenever I'm gathering materials. So that kind of stuff goes into the work, which is using found material, whether it's bits and from books and magazines to create collages, or in sound collage, creating, sounds from also found sounds, but also sounds created using analog synthesizers and tape machines. We just opened up with a track from my solo project Night Foundation, which was just released via Gateway Gardenia, who's based in North Carolina, and that was the title track to the record, which is Wrapped Up in Time, which I feel kind of shares a vibe and a mood with the current exhibit, which is Fragments of Disappearance. So it's kind of this idea of what time does to things and what does to us after time, and what we gain from it and how we're influenced. I'm gonna go back to your question. It was kind of like early influences. And I always read like interviews, with like, he remembers when he was 5 years old and he started painting and he always loved art. I came from a place of like watching MTV and seeing, Peter Gabriel videos and Genesis, Land of Confusion, Monty Python. So like film and television were like a big thing for me early on, seeing what like how visuals could interact with sound and vice versa, and not quite limiting something to like a 2D plane as far as, you see something that's moving, like a moving image, like a film, like a music video. I feel like that's kind of the perfect marriage of visual and sound and feeling. Influences, music videos, MTV, but then also, once I was in school, getting into Dada art and Fluxus art, artists like Bruce Conner and John Baldessari and Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, which was a Bauhaus artist. So kind of a mixture of collage art, but then also architecture, are kind of, those early influences that still stay with me, that are still wrapped up in my time. They're fragmented haven't disappeared. They're still there.
Fragmented in your being. Yeah.
Yes.
So I was, I think it would be interesting to talk a little bit about what type of environment you grew up in, and how this environment shaped you into this magnificent
Into what
thing.
happened.
Into what
What
happened.
happened to him? ¿Qué pasó? We thought he was doing so well in school, and then all of a sudden he wanted to be an artist. I wasn't so encouraged early on to be an artist or whatever. I mean, I knew though early on that I wanted to do something visual. Whatever, I painted and colored a lot, as a kid. But, that environment wasn't really too much focused on me being an artist. It was like, okay, you're gonna go and you're gonna get a job and do something in business, or you're gonna do something, kind of along those lines. But I wouldn't say that my upbringing like frowned upon it, but it also wasn't quite supportive of it. So I feel like in that way I kind of paved my own path, where I know of a lot of artists who they come from artist families, and it's a very kind of easy route to fall into. Where I feel like I kind of struggled along the way. I mean, not struggled in the sense that I was poor living on the streets being a starving artist, because I've never been that. But in a way, not having really a support from my family, and nothing against my family. I love my family, but it's just, we just didn't see eye to eye. And also, too, kind of living in the South Florida landscape, which has always been, kind of a difficulty, where I feel like I don't quite mesh with the typical environment or kind of art scene that is here. So I've always felt like I've kind of worked in a vacuum, and I find that I like that challenge. I always like accept these challenges, and I've been to New York. I've seen what that's like, and that was great. But there's a lot of competition there, and there's a lot of people just kind of imitating each other. So
Yeah.
I feel like being here, it's like kind of paving my own path, which feels cool.
Yeah.
Do you think that so do you think that growing up in South Florida, the way that you see objects, and did that influence the way that you see objects and memory?
Yeah, definitely, because there's a lot of this kind of I'll call it garbage culture. That's you walk around. I mean, you walk around the street and you see you see garbage and different things and just shit that doesn't make sense. Like stuff that's just so strange and out of place in a David Lynchian kind of way, or even like the same way that like Harmony Korine was a big influence on me, the filmmaker. Like the film Gummo, where it's like he's in this kind of just wasteland. This part in Middle America where there's just these kids are shooting cats, and there's just like all this kind of just weird kind of backward stuff going on. And the idea, I guess, in my aesthetic is to kind of pull from that garbage or from that darkness and kind of make something beautiful. So I feel like, yeah, there definitely is a lot of inspiration, but not in the typical sense, that one would find a place inspiring.
Yeah, so the show is very autobiographical, and I identify a lot with the way you relate to objects and find like a soul in them. Like, for example, there's a lot of, for example, the CD tower. Those elements are very personal to you. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how it shaped the exhibition?
So that CD tower, in specifically, it's being built as a tribute piece to my sister who passed away in 2024. She was a music collector, a music listener, just a huge music fan, and she's somebody who she was the one who got me into music, and that's kind of one of the most important things in my life, or at least inspirational things, and just really gets me through the day. And anyway, I just remember kind of growing up, being a kid and growing up around her, and just, always just being into the CD collection that she had that was always expanding and going anywhere from My Life to the Throko Cult to Front 242 to Chris Isaak to the Dixie Chicks. So it was kind of all over the place. And, that was kind of an influence of her living in New Jersey, then living in Dallas, then living in Florida. So it was kind of all over the place. So after she passed, I kept the CD collection. It's most of it. It's not all of it. It's most of it, and it's kind of alphabetized. But I feel like some of the cases are all messed up and dirty. Some of them don't even have the CD anymore. Some of them, the artwork's gone. But most of it, it's like the spine, and I have a lot of memories of specific CDs in that collection, of hearing them when I was little, and just them having an impact on me and just kind of staying with me. So, she had a lot of Ramones CDs, which I want to play a track from Ramones at some point in the show. And so, yeah, that idea of like animism, these objects that have this human essence attached to it, and something like a CD where I walk in to do a radio show at Jolt Radio, and the guy tells me there's no CD player. I can't play a CD. So I said, okay, that's fine, but I'm still going to keep the CD. I'm not going to throw it away. You know, it's still got a sentimental value. And, you know, some other objects in the show, for instance, there's a piece. It's a sculptural piece with a wheelchair and a camcorder and a printout of itself. And it's kind of tapping this thing called the Drost effect, which is like an image of an image of an image of an image. And that is influenced by an artist named William Anastasi, who is an artist from Philadelphia. And I feel a camaraderie with him because I was born in Philadelphia, and he's very much into conceptual art and using kind of TVs as sculptures. And the piece is called Caretaker, and it's kind of just an object kind of just watching itself, but it's in a current state of, you know, kind of well-being for the most part. It's functioning and it's alive. You know, it's not a disabled object. And that camcorder specifically came from a good friend of mine and kind of a mentor. His name is Pablo Pagan, who's kind of been with me along my journey as far as, you know, different performances and different art openings. He's always kind of been around and really just kind of a guardian angel in a way, you know. He's kind of we always see him at goth parties and he just dances. He outdances everybody, and he's like in his 70s. But anyway, so that camera belonged to him, and then he gifted it to me, and that's what's in the show. So that kind of carries his essence and carries his kind of guiding eye, I feel, in that show, in the current show.
So I was, you know, when we were discussing this show, of doing this like collaboration together, you had the idea of using the word disappearance in the title of the show, and we felt very connected to it immediately. It was almost like magical, the fact that you were bringing this up. And I know you just mentioned this terrible loss that you just had. So is that, or what are the things that made you come up with the idea of using disappearance in the title of the show? What moments, you know, I don't feel like I'm.
Yeah, no, I'm catching you. Yeah, so I mean, it kind of comes from a place of really coming from that pre-internet, post-internet age that we are all of age to be experiencing, to currently be experiencing, and you know, just really seeing. I mean, some stuff specifically to Miami, certain landmarks that are disappearing. We're at the age where people in our lives are disappearing. We're at the technological age where obsolete mediums are disappearing like a CD. So it could be a very sad thing, but it could also be something that could be celebrated as kind of, you know, a tribute to those lost or those things that are missing and have disappeared, and kind of finding a reimagination of a loss of space. So kind of this idea of negative space, which I deal a lot with in my work. I feel like early on, when I kind of took the path in my work to be like, I want to really explore collage, especially because I like collage the most, because it's like you're painting but with photographs. And then it was like, okay, from there, how do I want to frame the piece? You know, it's like I'm kind of telling little stories, and negative space definitely plays a big part in the visual sense, and in the, you know, in my music as well. I use a lot of silences and just kind of playing off how stuff fits together based on the space. And what is negative space? It's the lack of something. It's the disappearance of something. And there's like a John Cage quote that I might misquote, but it's like, there can never be silence, or like, try to make a silence, you cannot. So it's, I guess I've been trying to make a silence for my whole my art career, based on these kind of disappearing objects and worlds.
Yeah, the way that you use negative space, not only your collage work and in your music, it's kind of like your signature. Like, you can tell that you try to build up these worlds and these collages and these audio works in a way that's uniquely yours. I mean, you can tell it's you right away, because of that use of negative space, using that fragment of a disappearing thing,
Right, whether it's the cutout of something that used to be there, and a lot of the like kind of also to add like a little bit of background to kind of the pieces in the show. I've been learning to kind of embrace the scraps recently. So, we try to put our best beautiful foot forward all the time when we live our lives. On social media, we're all living the best lives.
Yeah.
And here everything is great. You say, how's it going, man? I'm good. Are you really good? I'm happy with this. Are you happy with this? So there's a lot of sadness and darkness in our lives, but it's okay. And I've been embracing the scraps recently. So these things that, I might find a piece and I want to cut out, I've got this monkey, and this monkey is like, oh, I really like the cape on this monkey, and I like his head and his arms. So I'm going to cut out the monkey. And then I have the monkey there, but I'm like, oh, wow, well, look at this space right around where his feet were.
Yeah.
And then there's something poking out behind the monkey's feet in the book. And then that becomes a thing, and that's a chance operation, and that becomes, a fragment of disappearance, a fragment that was about to disappear, that was about to go to the bin because I said, oh, I cut out the monkey. I don't need this other piece. Boing.
Which is something that I really love about this show because we've been building it for the past couple of weeks, but in the last couple of days, we've been really getting into it and reusing a lot of objects and a lot of bricks and staging materials and things that we had in the gallery that we thought we would never use, but they became art pieces, like legit, on the wall, I would say even museum grade art pieces that were at one point we were waiting for them to just pick them up and take it out.
There were some like kind of odd shaped cut wooden pieces that I think were part of Bridget's show.
Yeah, they were part of the diorama that we used for Bridget Hoffman's show.
Yeah,
that weren't an art piece, but they were just a stage that we built out to stage the art.
Right. And then we flipped those perpendicularly, and now they're pieces hanging on the wall. And shout out to Cliff for helping us pour the resin over the last few days and install and everything, and just it's coming out great. And it's like, I feel why keep creating, but make the best use of your materials, to be able to reuse materials and to kind of like really hold on to these things, that they're, we create so much garbage as humans, and it's just such a waste. It's such a waste where all it takes is somebody to have a second thought about something and be like, look, let's put that over there and let's mix this with that and we'll paint it. And
it becomes
there
its
it
own
is,
thing,
right?
Your practice moves between collage and assemblage and installation and audiovisual elements. How do you decide which medium best expresses a particular idea?
So with collage, I feel like they're kind of like little stories. So I might have like a phrase in mind, or I might have like some kind of a loose concept. If it's like a commissioned work, it might be like kind of a pretty exact concept that I have to nail. But a lot of times, most of it's improvising, and it's like cutting out shapes and then saying like, okay, maybe this needs a sound component to it, or maybe this needs a sculptural component to it, and not limiting myself to just one medium or being able to just have to do something on a 2D page, where it could be something that, like kind of the sculpture in the show and kind of a sculpture we're putting now together with a reel-to-reel and a radio and using kind of site-specific elements. So we're using the pipes that are lining the ceiling to catch the tape loop coming from the reel-to-reel and, just different elements that are around. I feel like stuff inspires me. Like at that old space that we were at across the way, we were in an old brewery, and I was part of a group show there, a summer school. And then I walked into the space and I just thought, wow, this is the factory in Manchester. And we did a Factory Records themed party there.
Yeah.
And, things like that just, it's something as simple as that can sprout an idea.
Yeah, which is what part of the main reason that I like working with you so much. This is kind of like the fourth time maybe we work together, but it's because the ideas, seeing you come up with these ideas and then bouncing them off each other, like the Trains of Thought show in that old dilapidated, had no floor gallery came out really awesome. The summer school one just seeing you come up with that idea, and now seeing you working on this one, is always amazing. And then bouncing off like ideas off each other, I think we're kind of on the same page. And seeing the things that you bring in, like those CDs that you were bringing in, I'm like, I haven't seen these albums in this format in decades, but it takes me back. It takes me back, and I remember when somebody lent me that CD, or when I lent it out and never got it back. It kind of brings me back to that moment.
And being that age of when, before streaming and all that stuff, where like you had a CD and you lived with that CD for weeks, for months, and you looked inside and outside of the booklet, you listened to it from front to back, and that was your life, for a certain period of time. And those objects really kind of bring you back, and it's something that I feel that I kind of want to carry on, because I know that was something that was special to Audrey, my sister, was her CDs. Like I remember I moved back from New York. I didn't have a job, and she was like, "Oh, I'll give you like $50 to organize my CDs, to alphabetize them," because it was like something important to her, and it was always like our bond, was this kind of bond over music. With my middle sister too. Shout out to her. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Allison. We both grew up exchanging music, listening to music together, stuff like the Cranberries, the Ramones, who else was in that collection? Beastie Boys was a big one, I was talking about that with Aurelio today. Like Beastie Boys was kind of the first time that like all three of the siblings had the same CD, where it was kind of like I got, Depeche Mode and The Cure from my older sister. I got, Cranberries and Liz Phair from my middle sister. And then all of a sudden, Beastie Boys, I felt kind of was like all of our thing, where it was like, okay, we were kind of into the Beastie Boys. And I don't know. And still having those objects. I mean, now it's just as easy as plugging in a phone or whatever and experiencing that. But yeah.
But it makes me feel, in a way, kind of blessed that we lived in that era where we could intentionally consume music and art and not have it be just a background, or I listen to something, I look up the person, I know everything about him in 2 seconds, and then I forget about it. Like you're really living with these objects and this art, and it becomes a part of you in a more intentional way. Like you're choosing it's not background, it's not noise, it's something that you choose to do.
Yeah, you're actively getting up, you're putting the CD in the CD player, you're dialing it in, and either you're skipping through the track you want to hear, or you want to hear it's a ritualistic thing, and then it was like, started driving, and it was like, oh wow, now I could play music in the car. That was the whole thing, where now it's such a privilege, kind of like, it's just like, it's whatever, we don't even think about it, it's just the thing that happens. So kind of holding on to the golden era.
Yeah, man.
Kind of analog. I mean, whatever, CDs were digital, but that tangible music era.
Intentional,
I don't know. Before I was like, I would listen also to full albums. Now, I still do that, but when I was little and I had these CDs that were gifted to me or my parents bought me, I would put them on and I would listen to like the whole thing, and I feel like it really gave me like an idea of what these artists were trying to say, or
Well, that was kind of the only option you had, was to just put on the CD, and that was it.
Or the cassette. Mm-hmm. But now it's just so easy, it's
but it loses everything.
Of course,
like the other day we went to the movies, and it felt amazing. Like we went.
Because you think about when was the last time you did that, where now it's plug and play, and you're on the couch watching whatever movie.
It takes you 4 days to watch a movie because you're falling asleep. And but that intentionality of going somewhere and doing something, and it resonates a lot with the work you're doing, and I think that's why we resonate so much with it.
And creating, so the sculpture itself, you'll get a chance to see it if you come out to the show, and it is a like almost 10-foot high CD tower, and if you ever go to a thrift store, you always see the old CD towers, and everybody's gotten rid of their CDs, and they're there, and that always makes me think too. I really like thrifting because I feel like that's always just kind of a collection of old lives. It's just like all these people, they own these objects at some point, and now they're here, for somebody else to buy. So the sculpture itself is about 10-foot high. sculpture, freestanding, hopefully, of CDs that all belong to my sister. And it is a sound object in the sense that sound is contained within it, but it is a silent object because it's disappeared. It's kind of been put to rest with her, so it stands silently, and but it has that kind of feeling. Could we segue there into a song?
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to play a song. I brought the CD with me, and it's from the album Brain Drain by the Ramones. And I'm going to play it off the phone because because we're in 2026, and that's just what we do. And the track is Pet Sematary, and Pet Sematary, I remember the movie when I was very young, and it left a big impact on me. I still think it's one of the scariest movies that I've ever seen. And if you like, the concept is, the pet dies, they bury the pet in the pet cemetery. It's this Indian burial ground. The pet comes to life evil. So in a sense, that's kind of a way of animism where you want to kind of keep the spirit in this object or in this pet, but then what happens when it all goes wrong? So here we are, Pet Cemetery by the Ramones.
Under the October with the steamboats, ancient goblins and wallows come at the grand line making a sound. The smell of death is all around. And at night when the cold wind blows, no one cares, nobody knows. I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. Fall addicted to the sacred place. This ain't a dream, I can't escape. Molars and fangs, the clicking of bones. Spirits moaning among the tombstones. And at night when the moon is bright, someone cries, something ain't right. I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. The moon is full, the air is still. All of a sudden I feel